Hello neighbor, this is Curt with eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Inno Aero flush roof rack on our 2025 Nissan Rogue. Now if you've had any experience with this roof rack, or if you have questions following this video, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. We'd love to help answer those and use your experiences to help our other neighbors really make the best decision for themselves. Now, this Inno Aero flush roof rack is exactly what it says. It is a flush rack, meaning there's not going to be any overhang to the bars. That, in a lot of cases, is a style that people like because it does create a cleaner, more factory look on the vehicle. Plus, if you're a taller person or on a lower vehicle like this, you really want to make sure you're not hitting your head on anything getting in and out of the vehicle. Now, this flush system from Inno does have the arrow-shaped bars also in the name, which means it's kind of a blade shape. It'll be wider in the front and narrower to the back. That's really going to help with wind resistance, so that's going to cut down on noise as you're driving and probably help a little bit with gas mileage as well. You're going to have a weight capacity on these of 165 pounds. However, it is important that you double check your owner's manual and see what your roof capacity is. If it's lower than that 165, that's your capacity. Now, as far as how it's going to fit on your Rogue, the instructions do give, very specific fixed points as far as where you should be mounting. So from that, we're going to go ahead and get a crossbar spread. Our crossbar spread is at 27 3/4 inches, and that's a pretty good place to be because most rooftop accessories want a crossbar spread between 26 and 32, so this should be able to accommodate most things that you'd want to put up here. It is going to add a little bit of height to your vehicle, but that little bit of height only comes out to about 3 1/4 inches, so not all that much. This isn't a tall vehicle to begin with, so you shouldn't have any clearance issues, but it's good to know what's up there. Underneath the bar, we're just under 2 inches, so that should be plenty of room for most clamp-mounted accessories. You, of course, have the push-down T-track up top so that you could add your T-slotted accessories as well. They are positioned in a really good spot. If you ask me, I'm standing right in the door threshold for the second row of the vehicle. It puts me right in between the bars. That, to me, is a great place to be as far as standing up somewhere and being able to access all of your gear. Now, there is one really unique feature to Inno crossbars as opposed to others that are out there. The Inno roof racks come with lock cores and keys already. Most roof racks, you have to purchase those separately. It can get a little expensive. The upside to that is that you can generally get them keyed alike to other accessories from the same manufacturer. But the fact that Innos come with keys right out of the box is a huge upside for this roof rack. Now, stick around. We're going to show you exactly how we got these up on the roof of our Nissan Rogue. Now, as we begin our installation process, you may notice that we already have our front bar installed. The rear bar is going to install exactly the same way. There's just going to be some slightly different measurements that we're going to get acquainted with. So the first thing we want to do is come over to the end of our bar here. We can just depress this and slide it until it's all the way out with this tray like right here. We're going to insert that with that open tab end facing outward, and then we're just going to get it right back into our position here. Next thing we'll do is take our tower assembly and our foot pad. It's very easy to figure out where it goes because there are little notches here for all the bolts. So we're just going to put that on and get that pressed in snug. And once we have that on there securely, what we'll be able to do now is we've got this T-slot, bolt, and another little tab here, which will line up with this slot for the T-slot, the bolt, and that small tab there. We're going to put the T-slot end into the end like this. We're going to slide this back, and we will feel this drop in at that point. Once that's in, you're pretty secured on here. We are going to have our L-shaped Allen key that is provided to be able to tighten it down, but first we need to determine the measurements of how far apart we need to be. Now, the instructions that you get, unfortunately, give you measurements for the through feet. However, this is a flush rail system, meaning none of the bar is going to be overhanging the towers. So our measurements are going to be slightly different. So what we had figured out was that for the back bar, if they're actually spread completely as far apart as they can be, that actually ends up fitting right in the spot where they're telling us to put it. So to put it into terms of like the measurements that you're going to see in the instructions, they'll have you measure from the very center of the bar over to where your tower starts. And the measurement that we came up with for the back bar, once we got it on there, was 17 5/8. On the front bar, the measurement we got was 18 5/8. But like I said, on the back bar for where they wanted us to put it, that actually ends up being with them spread out completely to its maximum. So since we have it in that spot already, I'm going to go ahead and take our L-shaped Allen tool, and I'm just going to tighten down the bar to the towers so that it doesn't slide around on us and change its length. And once I get that hand tight, we can go ahead and get it up on our roof. Now, included in your instructions are basically gives you the measurements of where exactly your crossbar should end up being. They're going to judge that by this center bolt and off of the door seam right here. So the front door from the center bolt was a 2-inch measurement. We double checked that on each side before tightening this down to make sure that it was perpendicular with the vehicle. The measurement from the door seam to the bolt of the second bar is 25 1/4. So now that we have that in place and measured up in both sides, we're going to go ahead and grab our clamps and get those on right now. Now, when you open your fit kit for the Rogue, you're going to notice that there are 2 different lengths of clamp. The shorter length of clamp is going to go on your front bars because it's got a very narrow width of body here that it's got to cover to get down into the door seam. The rear bar clamps are going to be longer because they have so much more car body to get through before it gets to the door seam. But to get this on is really, really easy. All we're going to do is remove this bolt. It's a long bolt. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and open our door and put this into place. We're going to just cover that up right there. Hold it in spot, and then we're going to thread that bolt back in and just kind of hand tighten it in a little bit. We don't have to make it tight quite yet. We just want it in a spot where it's not going to go anywhere on us. So now that we have our clamps in place, I'm going to go ahead and take the included tool from Inno. This tool has a handle on it. It is a torquing tool, so it will let us know when we have this tight enough. However, I'm not going to advise that you tighten down one side completely and then move over to the other. The likelihood of it popping out of place if you do it that way is high. I would tighten it a few turns down on each side until we get to the point of torquing, making sure the entire time that the rubber padding is seated properly on the contours of the vehicle and that our clamp here doesn't lose any grip. So I'm just going to start tightening it down a little bit on each side until we get to that torque point. And once we get it tightened down, you're going to hear a pop just like that. When you get it completely tightened down on both sides, we're going to go ahead and grab our covers and get those latched on. Now we just need to attach our tower covers. Just make sure that you've got it lined up properly. You're going to see your keyhole here. That should be lined up with this rectangular slot right here, so it'll catch and latch on in the back. So we're just going to slide that over, lock it into place. We're going to give it a little bit of an extra shake, make sure everything's secure onto the vehicle. It is. Now we're ready to get things loaded and hit the road. So that was a look at the Inno Aero flush roof rack on our 2025 Nissan Rogue. I'm Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.